Regular council meeting of the City of Joliet, January 20th, 2015. And Associate Pastor Lazarick Hudson from the Prayer Town Ministries will be doing the invocation, and he's also one of the chaplains for the police department. Followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, sorry.
Let's bow our heads for prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gifts of mercy and love that you have provided for us this day. We acknowledge you as our provider, our sustainer, and our comforter. We ask for your presence during this meeting so that the hearts and minds of our mayor and council members may be guided by your wisdom, your mercy, and your love, in order to make decisions in the best interests of the citizens of our great city. We ask that you would watch over all of our police officers, firefighters, and their families as they begin a new year of service to our city. Bless all of our city employees as well. And finally, we ask that you would bless the city of Joliet with prosperity, safety, and the hope of a better future in this new year. We ask all of these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start with roll call. Mayor Girani.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Here.
Councilman Girl.
Here.
Councilman Hugg.
Here.
Councilman McFarland. Absent. Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Odeker.
Here.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Here?
Councilman Turk.
Here.
First on the agenda, under Mayor Girani appointments. Recommended Carol Wolf Bobin be appointed to the Joliet Public Library Board.
So moved.
Second?
The motion is seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hugg.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Odeker.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Mayor Girani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is the approval of the agenda. It's recommended the agenda be approved as written.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
The motion is seconded to approve. Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hugg.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Odeker.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Mayor Girani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council committee reports. CTIS committee report.
The CTS committee is made up of myself, Councilman Hugg, and Councilman Betty Gavin, and we met about 10 days ago and to discuss the Tyler Municipal implementation update. And since it's quite detailed, I'd asked Scott Kinsella, the director of the department, to give us just a short, brief explanation and presentation so that the council knows what we've been doing.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council did meet last week in CTIS committee. We discussed the policies that we're about to formally roll out to city staff, and then an update on the big project, the Tyler project. So if you just bear with me. 4 different policies are being were developed and vetted through the management team within the departments of the city. So all department heads, division heads, and key individuals had an opportunity to review these things. And so what I meant by formal rollout of policies is that the city over the many years has not, implemented formal IT policies. And so we're closing the loop on that, and we're publishing some policies. So they have to do with the acceptable use of technology, the account management, how we build up and take down accounts where people have access to systems here, a password policy, things that like, how you put together a password for your systems, as well as how we identify and authorize people to get access within various technology systems within the city. The acceptable use policy essentially just gives people guidelines of what they can and cannot do with our technology. It includes computers, laptops, tablets, smartphones, et cetera, and it's meant to be a common sense framework where, providing just general guidelines for the use of those types of things, what people can and cannot do. Account management is every person that accesses a city service has a specific account identifiable to them. We are defining the rules associated with how those accounts are set up. Password policy, the big thing here is the expiration of passwords. Nobody likes these types of things, but it is a generally accepted best practice that, you have a password to get access to things, and you have to, expire them from time to time so that they can't be shared and people have tighter control and security. Authorization, identification, and authentication, that's a mouthful, I realize that, but basically what we're doing is we're defining the way that the city uniquely identifies people, we're defining roles so that it's easy to maintain, and then for critical services like access to law enforcement databases and things like that, there are some requirements for what is called two-factor authentication, where you have something that you know and something that you might have, like a key card, or something that you are, like a biometric fingerprint, or those types of things. And so two-factor authentication is something that we're standardizing on for critical services as well. That's really it on that. The CTIS committee reviewed these things and unanimously agreed that these needed to be put in place for general staff. Our intent is to roll it out in February. I'm very pleased to report that the large project approved in 2013 for the replacement of some 30-year-old software that was running within the city, the Tyler Munis application for financials and for many other services that we do, but the financial portion of it went live on January 1st. You've seen this chart, this timeline many times, typically quarterly. We've updated you throughout it. I'm proud to tell you that we did finish the project on time and on plan. We're at about month 16 of 36. We're about $1 million into a $3.6 million project. Over the next couple of years, we're going to open up Phase 2 and Phase 3. We're in what you might want to call a pre-launch stage of those efforts, and we're in the planning process to make sure that we have a solid schedule that we're covering all our bases for utility management and community development. With that, if there's any questions, I'm happy to field them, but that's really the update.
I would just like to repeat that it is on budget plan and on schedule plan. Thank you for that. Council members on
If I might
committee,
make a
want to add
comment.
anything?
Scott, I just want to thank you and everybody involved. I can't list the people. I remember being new in 2011 when I came here. You and I talked about this recently. And you had been here a short while, had been brought on to bring this together. And you walked into what I would say would be, in some levels, an outdated mess. And everybody made it work for those years. So finally, thank God, I remember saying back then, it's time to get out of the 70s and into the 2000s. We're in the 2000s, and I will say, while we've accomplished a lot, as you and I discussed, and there's even more we have to accomplish, it's on the agenda. We got to keep pushing forward because that's also going to translate to better interaction and communication with all the residents. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to point out one of the advantages of the ADP system with the adoption of these kinds of policies, either a department-level policy or a citywide level policy like these IT. Every employee gets a copy electronically and signs for it electronically. So it's a great labor savings device for human resources.
Councilman Gavin, you want to add anything?
Just want to thank Scott and staff and all of the departments for an excellent job and certainly bringing it on time and on budget, which is really commendable to you. So thank you so much for your work.
Welcome and thank you.
And I'd also like to thank Scott and staff for helping me out here tonight. Left my notes at home, so he stepped up to the plate for me, so I appreciate it. Thank you so much. But we have been busy, so that's what we've been doing. So I hope everybody is happy with the progress, and it's time to be in the 21st century. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
Next is the Finance Committee report.
Yes, Your Honor, the Finance Committee consists of myself, Councilman Hug, and Councilman,
You're right, though.
excuse me. Your Honor, the Finance Committee met this evening in the council chambers. The Finance Committee consists of Councilman Hug, myself, and Councilman Turk, who is actually absent due to a work commitment. The only items we had up for discussion were items of routine business. We approved the travel and seminar expense report, our treasurer's disbursement report, and our regular claims report. There was no other business brought before the committee, and that concludes my report.
Public Service Committee report.
Yes, Your Honor, the Public Service Committee met this afternoon at 4:45 in the conference room. We did not have a quorum. However, we did review all contracts, change orders, pay estimates, final payments, and all seem to be in order, sir.
Thank you.
That concludes my report.
I show no other reports. Next, consent agenda. Approval of minutes. It's recommended the minutes of the pre-council meeting held on January 5th and of the council meeting held on January 6th, 2015 stand approved as recorded. Treasurer's disbursements for December 2014, $24,418,628.36. Regular claims for December 2014, $2,155,883.56. It's recommended treasurer's disbursements and regular claims be received and placed on file. Council Memo 22-15, position vacancies. It's recommended the city manager be authorized to fill 2 police patrol officer positions and 1 utilities water lift station mechanic with subsequent vacancies. Council Memo 23-15, regular payroll for December 12th through December 25th, 2014, $3,181,355.01. Council Memo 24-15, regular payroll for November 28th through December 11th, 2014, $3,164,622. It's recommended said regular payroll be approved. Is there a motion to approve said consent agenda items?
Second.
Questions?
The motion and seconded to approve. Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
I'll vote aye, except for B and C. I'll decline for the ones that pertain to my employer.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl. Mayor Girani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Ordinances and resolutions. Under ordinances, Council Memo 26-15, an ordinance approving the preliminary plat of re-subdivision of lots 1 and 2 of Walmart subdivision, and ordinance approving the recording plat of re-subdivision of lots 1 and 2 of Walmart subdivision. It's recommended said ordinances be adopted.
So moved. Second. Questions? Jim, comments?
Well, I can provide a little background. This is the Walmart at Theodore and 59. In the original plat, had a plan for a Murphy oil gas station there. And so this original plat was 2003, and it was never built, and they've made some modifications and are coming back to replat that for the same Murphy gas station there.
Thank you.
Motion and seconded to approve said ordinance. Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Mayor Girani.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Technology.
Under resolutions, Council Memo 27-15, a resolution approving conveyance of real property for the County of Will Water and Sewer Extension Project. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Jim? Explanation?
As some background for both this resolution and the next one, the city's been working with the county to get water and sewer out to their county facilities at Laraway and Manhattan roads. As you know, in acquiring easements for the water and sewer lines, every property owner wants something different. And in this case, your first resolution, number 15, the county found that the property is adversely impacted, so they are just purchasing the property outright. We have been working for a number of months to see this project come to fruition so that we can go to bids on it, and we believe that between tonight's meeting and our next meeting, we should have all of these set and be ready to go ahead and prepare the bid specifications.
Any other questions? Krista?
It was motion and seconded, said resolution be adopted. Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman. Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 28-15, a resolution accepting grants of easement for the extension of the City of Joliet's water and sanitary sewer system. It is recommended said resolution be adopted.
Move to approve.
Second.
Questions? Krista?
Been motion and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
You know, I just want to, before I vote, I'm going to vote aye, but I want to thank Jim and his staff for kind of coordinating this with the county. We're working on a number of things, specifically, hopefully, a courthouse in the near future in downtown Joliet. And I know this goes a long way to show our cooperation with the county as far as getting these water and sewer lines extended. So, Jim, I want to thank you and your staff for being responsive, and I know there's some additional business to come before us at our next meeting as well. But I vote aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
I agree with Councilman Girl's comments. Good job, and I vote aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Bids and contracts. Award of contracts. Council Memo 30-15, approve a purchase for wireless network upgrade. Council Memo 31-15, approve ISCO flow metering equipment purchase. Council Memo 32-15, approve a professional services agreement for the East Side Basin Sewer Model. Council Memo 33-15, purchase a Ford 4x4 Explorer for the Public Works Department. Council Memo 34-15, purchase a replacement communication system for the East Side Wastewater Treatment Plant. It's recommended Council Memos 30-15 through 34-15 be approved.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
Motion seconded to approve. Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Amendments, change orders, and payments. Council Memo 36-15, approved change order number 2 and payment request number 6 for the 2014 MFT roadways resurfacing contract. Council Memo 37-15, approved change order number 1 and payment request number 9A for the 2014 City of Joliet aggregate contract. Council Memo 38-15, approved change order number 2 and payment request number 9A for the 2014 City of Joliet bituminous patching materials contract. Council Memo 39-15, approved change order number 1 for the East Side Wastewater Treatment Plant influent pumping station and screen replacement project. It is recommended Council Memos 36-15 through 39-15.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
Motion and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is the city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Last week, I think I mentioned to you in my update that staff met internally. That included the Public Works Director, our traffic engineer, and the traffic division command staff in our police department to discuss the upcoming closure of the Walter Strawn at 53 and how that's going to have an effect on traffic coming into Laraway or where the trucks are going to move in terms of alternative routes to get into both the Elwood and Joliet Centerpoint developments. And this afternoon, we did a little brainstorming with representatives from Centerpoint as well, including the mayor, to talk about some ideas that they had. So things are kind of in flux at this point, but we had a good exchange of ideas and potential alternatives should the traffic routes suddenly change. Oftentimes, this is just the decision of the truck drivers where they want to drive. But it will be an integration of ownership of the roads, cooperation from the truck drivers, the unions that represent them, and the police department traffic enforcement team, and getting input from all parties to come up with a successful alternative so that we don't clog down the traffic on the expressways any more than they are today. So we'll keep you posted on that progress. The other thing is I'd like to request a brief closed session.
Next is new business, not for final action or recommendation.
There.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, I think as probably everyone here knows, there were unfortunately bad news. There were 2 more killings in Joliet last night. That brings the total up to 9 since Thanksgiving. So I came over to City Hall and the police department earlier today. I spoke with Chief Ben briefly. And unfortunately, when I came in this morning, there were news crews from Channel 2 News, Channel 5 News, and Channel 7 News here to report on the latest round of violence in Joliet, which obviously is bad news. It's bad for every Joliet resident, every homeowner, every business, and of course, it's horrible for the young people that are throwing their lives away. So having said that, Chief, I've got a number of questions from constituents about what the police are doing to try to combat this rise or the surge in violence. Would you be able to give me some answers as to what your department is doing?
Sure, Councilman. As you know, some of the violence that we've been experiencing is gang-related. We have a dedicated tactical unit along with our investigations that are prioritizing some of the members that we know have actively been involved in this retaliation back and forth. Unfortunately, it seems that in society nowadays it doesn't take much for someone to act out if they feel they've been either attacked or threatened. And what we're experiencing now is a rise in threats through social media, where there are groups that are posting online videos in here in our community that are challenging others. And unfortunately, we see all too often that quick response to someone that feels though their street credibility has been attacked or some other type of threat against their, what they feel to be their image on the street. So we have the groups defined that have been involved in it, and we've been doing our best to target them through even some of the most minor enforcement, whether it's traffic enforcement, whether it's probation violations. We've been working closely with probation and parole. As you know, the offender last night was on parole. We need stronger partnerships with our state's attorney's office. I had the first assistant state attorney in my office today. We're discussing some issues that are relevant to our efforts. But it's unfortunately, it's not a issue that the police alone can solve. It's something that we have to rely on the partnerships we have with the community, with the different entities, social entities that we have in town here, and try to target it as a collaborative effort. We've emphasized our neighborhood ordinance policing team for quite some time now. Each of you up there voted in favor of expanding that team, which we're looking forward to doing so this year. Unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit of a delay in us to get these bodies on the street because we're currently in a process of hiring through a testing service. We have an academy delay that's going to come once we do hire, and to get the officers up on the street and running, it could be the end of summer. So unfortunately, we're putting overtime monies out right now. We're increasing. We had that initiative throughout fall. We continue it now, even though typically crime declines in the winter. Because we know that it could start up at any time, we're continuing the Safe School initiative throughout the area surrounding our Central High School. We have maintained an additional presence throughout what we have identified as targeted hotspot areas through our area-based crime program. Each day that we've patterned there to be a spike in activity. As you know, every Thursday we get together. We're very strong proponents of the CompStat initiative. We look at our statistical data, we look at our crimes, and we try to be predictive and proactive in our efforts. And we continue to do that once a week. and try to allocate our resources through the smart policing initiative that we started about 3 or 4 years ago. It's been very successful. Unfortunately, we see crime ebbing and flowing in a manner that is beyond our control. But we do understand the priority, and we do understand that it's going to take a collaborative effort from us, the state's attorney's office, and like I said, probation and parole for us to be successful.
Well, thank you for the report, Chief. I think you're doing a great job handling this. Let me ask you directly, is there anything that this council can do right now to assist in your efforts?
I think you've done a great job so far of seeing to it that we get the funding this past year that we've asked for. We need, you could dump $1 million on me right now, but unfortunately, if I don't have the ability to put those cops on the street tomorrow, we're still going to see that short-term rise in crime if the criminals out there so desire. I appreciate the support that we've been given, and we're going to continue to look at strategies on how to address the problem.
Okay, thank you. Please, obviously, it's getting to a critical point, and so if you do need anything, please let us know. And again, I just want to reiterate, this, by no means is this a reflection on you or the department. I think it's a reflection on the fact that your police department was allowed to go 60 officers short and lost hundreds of years of experience, veteran officers that were bought out with early retirements. And I think it's a lesson for this council going forward, for my colleagues, that this mistake can never happen again. We can't undo NOPT or safe school programs. If you do, it's only a matter of time before we get the results that we're getting now.
Thank you. We, as you know, back in, as we talked before, in 2008, we had an all-time high of 302 sworn officers, and we have declined through the recession. We made some cutbacks. I think we're on the right path now to continue to build up our forces, and hopefully we'll be back to that same rate at some point in time, and we'll try to do everything we can to make sure that as our staff increases, the crime rate decreases.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, please. Excuse me. I just wanted to echo Councilman Odekirk's sentiments that the police department is doing under the circumstances for the last 4 years since I came on a tremendous job. And I mean, to use that word specifically, tremendous. They're running, popping, always going from one call to the next. I'm not even sure how they don't have more food spilled on their shirt, because I know they're eating when they're driving. And I'll tell you, going from the original proposal of 1 officer to the additional 7 to bring it up to 8, as you just indicated, Chief, that's a step in the right direction. But Councilman Odekirk's right. You're right. We have to restock this police department. That's got to be a priority. And I back your statements, Councilman Odekirk, and your vision, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief, I agree you're doing a great job. Let me ask you a question. I know at one time you had 302 police officers. Compared to that and now, how many officers do you have actually on the street?
We're at 262 now because we haven't been able to fill some of the positions that have been afforded in the budget. We also lost a few just this month through retirements. We had some promotions today. We're going to try to fill those positions, but again, there's going to be a bit of a delay in getting back up to where this council has authorized us to be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Another issue, Mayor.
Sure.
Again, I think this is bad news. I think we're all aware of. It was in the report in the Herald News about Caterpillar looking to outsource a couple hundred or 250 jobs. Mayor, Councilman McFarland had brought this issue to the council several months ago. He spoke about it, and I believe you told them that you were going to follow up on it. And we've never been given any report. Did you ever make contact with Caterpillar? Could you explain what happened?
I met with Jim Rink, the CEO, last Friday after this come out, and he says this is above him. This is a decision that he didn't make. It come from above him. I have asked him to get me the information of that person so we could sit down with them, and as of today, I have not received that yet.
So the
But
first-
I did meet with him Friday, and actually, a group of us went out approximately a year ago out to Caterpillar to see the plant, in which he told me I was the first mayor that's been out there in about 20 years. So I have met with him twice, and at that time, he told me that they had a 5-year lease on the property, and the outlook when the lease run up did not look good, so.
Well, if I could make a suggestion to you, Mayor, and Jim Hock, We have been very aggressive, especially in that part of town, with several businesses, with the cold storage that came in, with tax breaks that were given to the gas station at Laraway and Route 53, and of course, the breaks that have been given over the years to Centerpoint. I would propose, or would suggest that we put together some proposal that we can get to Caterpillar with real hard incentives to try to keep those jobs here, and it doesn't appear that that's been done.
Well, with all due respect, I don't, once I get this gentleman's name, I will have a meeting, and Jim and I will go out. But I don't think that's going to happen, because there's no way that they can produce the parts they do here at this Caterpillar compared to the price it's going to cost them to where they're anticipate to moving. But as soon as I get this gentleman's name, we'll set up a meeting and sit down and talk to him. Absolutely.
Jim, if you could check with me then before you go, I'd like to be included in that meeting.
We'll certainly keep council members advised of when this meeting is going to occur.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Next is citizens to be heard. First is Ronald Gruber.
Mayor Durante, city council members, I am Ron Gruber. I lived in Joliet, and I'm a member of the Rialto Belongs to the People group. I have a dream. Those were the iconic words spoken by Dr. Martin Luther King. Today, I have a dream that our group, the Rialto Belongs to the People, and the Will County Metropolitan Exposition Auditorium Authority, excuse me, I can't see, can come to an agreement that allows both groups to work together in harmony and for the betterment of the Rialto Theater. Our group's ultimate objective is to have a marquee on the Rialto Theater that is as close as possible to the original 1926 design. We understand that some minor modifications could be incorporated, such as LED lettering instead of having to get up on a ladder to change wording on the marquee. The currently proposed marquee is historically inappropriate and ruins the look of the beautiful Rialto Theater. It is our understanding that Great Signs, who has worked on the current sign for many years now, believes that the existing marquee can be refurbished, repaired, and put in good working order at a much lower cost than a brand-new marquee. Given the financial difficulties the Rialto Theater is currently experiencing, and the fact that the currently proposed unsuitable marquee design has been shelved by the Rialto Board, financial prudence seems to be a necessity. To quote Mr. Wayne Horn from his January 15th, 2015 article in the TimesWeekly.com, perhaps the financial difficulties of the Rialto are much deeper than whether funding for the marquee renovation is obtainable. Mayor Tom Durante questioned the financial health of the Rialto several months ago at a city council meeting. End quote. After a meeting was held on Saturday, January 15th, 2015, with 24-member steering committee of members of our group in attendance, the Rialto Belongs to the People group is in the process of becoming a nonprofit fundraising entity. We established a bank account for our organization. As our group becomes more and more organized, and our membership grows daily with almost 1,000 members now, I can assure everyone that we are not going away, and we are certainly not a fly-by-night group that will dissolve quickly as suggested by some individuals. In our GoFundMe.com fundraiser account, which has been in existence for about a month, but has actively fundraised for a little more than a week now, we have an excess of $6,700. Along with other assets, including funds in our bank account, we now have over $11,700. Again, we are not going away. Just as a point of reference, if the currently proposed marquee is brought back to life, we will oppose it with the same vigor that we opposed the November 24th, 2014 marquee. We would like to remind the City Council there is an open Rialto Theater board position available. We would like to work with a full 7-member Rialto board, and Mary Beth Gannon of our group should be at the top of the list of candidates and should be appointed. If City Council, the Rialto Theater Board, and the Rialto Theater Belongs to the People group ever intend to stop opposing each other and find solutions for the Rialto Theater's problems, we all need to work together, and this would be an excellent start. Again, to quote Mr. Horn, quite simply, theater management does not put enough people in the seats. The theater is dark most days of the year. Unlike Silver Cross Field, which lacks fans in the stands, the theater has heat and air conditioning, so it can be used year-round. According to the Rialto's website, salaries and benefits comprise more than $1.5 million of the $4 million 2014 WCMEAA budget. Rental of the Rialto property brings in just over $1 million per year. Almost half of the rental revenue comes from the separate 2 Rialto Square buildings. Sponsored events, including concessions, generate $2.2 million in revenue. Rialto management takes approximately $3.5 million of revenue. Expenses exceed revenue by over $600,000, according to the 2014 budget. The $125,000, which may or may not be more, spent on the yet-to-be-completed marquee adds to that deficit.
Mr. Gruber, we do have a 3-minute, so kind of wrap it up, please.
Yes, sir. What will the Rialto do with such a bleak financial future? The options in the short term are limited. It is clear that the current marketing model to generate revenue is not working. Our group in the past month or so has literally come up with hundreds of ideas to put people in the seats. Typically, when someone is hired to do a job and is not performing, you're given a written warning, then fired if the situation is not rectified. In this case, the Rialto Theater Foundation was created to help raise funds in addition to the person in charge, and that person just received a raise recently. The point of this backstory is this. The Rialto Belongs to the People group would like to invite City Council members, Mayor Giranti, the Rialto Theater Board, especially Mr. Smith and Mr. Green, to directly sit down with members of our interim board to discuss the Rialto Theater, its inner workings, and figure out what can be done to get it operating in the black again. We want to work with you, not against you. We want the Rialto Theater to regain its place as the premier location in Will County to stage events and keep the lights on daily. We are ready to help. Are you ready to accept our help or sit by and watch the world pass Joliet and the Rialto Theater by? Ladies and gentlemen of the City Council, we, the Rialto Theater Belongs to the People group, have a dream. We hope that you are ready to share that dream with us.
Just in response, a couple things. I was going to do this in my comments. Starting tomorrow, January 21st, through next Wednesday, January 28th, I will be accepting resumes for the opening on the Rialto board. I will conduct interviews, and depending on how many interviews, I plan on bringing a name to this council the second meeting in February. I will ask those that interview if they want their name released to the public or if they wish to keep it silent. I will call, as I said in a letter to Ms. Gannon, I will call her in for an interview. Like I said, depending on how many resumes I get, I plan on bringing a name to this board, the second meeting in February. Also, I hope and encourage the Rialto Board to work with the Rialto belongs to the people of Joliet to take this task at hand and bring the Rialto back to the great facility that it is. Okay?
Thank you.
Mayor? Since they want to work with everybody, as the liaison of Councilman Odekirk, I think you should set up that meeting right now before you have a full board until that vacancy is, filled, and get this ball started, because these guys mean business, and I love to see the passion here, and the theater has been a passion of mine for a very, very long time, and since Mr. Zerkes has taken back his money, unfortunately, this group has stepped up, and they put their, literally, money where their mouth is. And I think this is just going to keep exploding and exploding, because many people in Joliet, not only just Joliet, but surrounding neighborhoods as well.
There's people all over the country.
Exactly. Love this theater. And, I'll be glad to help, but I would ask Councilman Odekirk to set up that meeting, and I'd like to attend it.
Just-
Everyone on the council is welcome. Mayor,
Well,
especially Mr. Durante, you are welcome as well.
Well, we'll have to advertise it so we don't violate the Open Meetings Act, just so you know.
That's fine.
Also, the resumes, I want them dropped off at my office, because for the reason being that if they send them to me email and somebody forwards my email, their names will be out. And I don't want to release their names unless they allow it. Okay? So they have to drop them off at my office. Okay?
We can do that.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with Councilwoman Quillman and Mr. Gruber. Last week, I issued a press release, and I was on WJO Radio. I publicly called for cooperation between the two groups. I haven't heard anything back from the Rialto Board yet. I will try to follow up from them. I also have information that I was asked that I would read tonight regarding funding the donations. And correct me, someone, if I get the information wrong. There's a BMO Harris account that's set up under the Rialto Belongs to the People. You can walk into a BMO Harris branch and make a donation into that account directly, or you can go to the website www.gofundme.com/Rialto, and GoFundMe is GOFUNDME. So again, I definitely commend you for your efforts, and as Councilwoman Quillman said, you're backing it up, you're raising money. We're a long way away from $350,000, but I think the Rialto Board should be encouraged that there's money that they don't have, which is coming in. So I think there's every incentive for them to get together, and I think this is an opportunity to take something that was negative and turn it into a positive result. Thank you. Mayor?
Yeah.
I had spoke to several of the folks that are here, and I'll start my comments by saying that I'm excited for the passion that this group of folks are showing for the Rialto. And it made me think back to 2011 when I first came on the council and nobody spoke before the council. And some of the meetings I saw or came to prior to that where nobody spoke. I'm excited that the growing number of Jolietans know that if they come here, some people will listen to them. And I want you to continue to come here for all the issues. And Ms. Gannon, I'm a researchaholic. I've, of course, gotten to know you. I've met you. I've seen your resume. I researched you. You're perfect for the spot. You have my permission publicly to put me as a reference, professional, personal, and otherwise, on the resume you submit.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Don Zweers.
My name, excuse me. My name is Don Zweers. I live here in Joliet. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you again for this opportunity to express my opinion freely in Joliet's democratic society. And I think that what we just heard was really democratic society. All right? I like that. Before you answer my question about using our own website to inform us who we're voting for, I would like to share with you what our first president, George Washington, told the next president Thomas Jefferson in front of Congress prior to leaving his office after 8 years of actually using our Constitution as a model. His farewell speech has to be the most powerful speech anyone in the world has ever given. I strongly recommend everyone here to read it. It is long, but says who he thought we should be. I would like to read what I think applies to tonight. That your union and brotherly affection may be perpetual, that the free Constitution, which is the work of your hands, may be sacredly maintained, that its administration in every department may be stamped with wisdom and virtue. Then, in fine, the happiness of the people of these states, under the auspices of liberty, may be made complete by so careful a preservation and so prudent a use of this blessing, as will acquire to them the glory of recommending it to the applause, the affection, and adoption of every nation which is yet a stranger to it. We tonight are looking for our elected officials to take a vote, allowing any qualified candidate the opportunity to present their own agenda to the same city website which you use to inform us what you want us to know. Taxpayers are paying for it, so they still get the benefits. In fact, the web becomes an even more valuable tool for disseminating information, more hits. We the people are allowing our lives to be dictated by only a few. This has to change. If we want Joliet to be Joliet and not the East Side or the West Side or some other segment, we need us all to be together for a stronger democracy. The same goes for every other city in America. It's where the people are. If this vote is yes, then it's up to all of us to affect the change and respond with our individual vote for the candidate we support without any negative feelings, win or lose. If we have a huge voter turnout and record numbers of new voters in April, Joliet will be the winner. I envision the rest of America will want to do this too. No longer will the wealthy and special interest groups have the power to depress anyone without us allowing it. How can voters vote for a candidate if they don't present their agenda that will best serve us? Yes, what we do in Joliet does matter, as long as Joliet fights for that freedom. We love Joliet. That's why we live here. A vote to allow the city of Joliet to use our free website allows every citizen the same opportunity to be a candidate. We will have earned this privilege through our own hard work. Why not? Thank you for this opportunity, and God bless us. We're Americans too.
Thank you, Mr. Zwier. Thank you.
You know, I have a question, Mayor. It's not a bad idea, Mr. Zwiers. The more information that any of these folks can have, that I can have, that you can have, is that legal? Is there Marty, is there legal problems with accommodating such a forum for the community?
Yeah, I actually had the chance to talk to Mr. Zwiers, and I put together a memo. I would recommend against it. So what I'll do is maybe tomorrow I'll distribute the memo.
Thank you.
There's there's a number of problems.
Okay.
And we can share that memo with Mr. Zwiers?
Oh, yeah, I talked to him.
Yes.
You
All
want-
right.
There's no problems too large to overcome. It just may take more time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Krista?
Next is Robert Iufus Webb II.
On behalf of the reasonable thinking human beings among the people of the state who reside here in the Joliet-Will County area community, I extend to this council greetings of peace and friendship. There's two things I'd like to share with this council today. But before I do, for the public record, outside myself, I'd like to see a show of hands of those who are standing on their oath to support the Constitution to the best of their ability. For the public record, those who are standing on their oath to support the Constitution of the state of Illinois and the United States. I guess I'm the only one that's standing on that oath then. Upon reflective thinking, this council should remember that some time ago, I had made a suggestion that this council act in its advisory capacity and call into question some seemingly unconstitutional acts that took place or are still taking place at 14 West Jefferson Street. In terms of the requiring of various individuals, or a selected group of individuals, to take urine analysis tests at status hearings, which violates their rights under the Fifth Amendment. The bail bond that was modified back in April, several months after I raised that issue, transforming that into a contract and manipulate individuals into to sign that bail bond to get released under the condition that they take urine analysis tests. It's very unconstitutional for that to take place. And I'm still wondering, what has the council done to advise those individuals over on the 14th West Jefferson Street, because there was no open meeting act where they had decided to change that bail bond, and they're only targeting a particular class of offenders, those who got caught with either drugs or drug paraphernalia. As I indicated, when those individuals are manipulating and taking those urine analysis tests, if they come up positive, they want to keep their money, lock them up. They don't go to work, no call, no show, they're losing their job. And then they want to put them on some 410 probation program where they got their grips on their life for 2 years. Once again, if those who are among us are standing on their oath of office, this is very unconstitutional. The Fifth Amendment prohibits an individual from giving up any type of evidence that will incriminate them.
Robert, that's a police issue. Have you addressed the police with that issue?
No, it's not a police issue. But I would like to speak on this police issue concerning this violence thing. We all know that since Cain killed his brother Abel, violence has been a part of this world that we live in. We live in a violent civilization. So violence is an everyday part of everybody's life, whether you are involved in it or not. Every war that has taken place on this planet has been some form of violence where people have gotten killed. Behavior is learned. A lot of the behavior that the youth are out here acting out because they see it on TV. Cartoons have violence. Any type of movie you see have violence. People aren't born to be violent. They're socialized, conditioned, and trained to be that way. So we're going to talk about the diminishment in violence, whether it's a street fraternity or whether it's a country that's going to war against another country for their resources. It's still violence. Someone in the book of Isaiah indicated about this thing with melting down their swords to plow fields or something like that. I'm sure you all know that particular story. Now, if there was going to be a need for cutting out violence, well, why don't we just go in and throw all of the weapons in incinerators and melt them down?
Robert, I'm giving you a little latitude because the first speaker went over, so.
Well, let's keep in mind Section 9.5.2 out of Article 1 of Chapter 9.5 of the Ordinance of the City of Joliet, which is the anti-discrimination, right? Where it states, to secure to all persons living or working a desire to live or work a fair opportunity to live without discrimination based upon race, color, religion, national origin, sex, age, sensory, mental, or physical handicap. When you say you're going to give me latitude because you let other people speak, all right? This is the open public forum.
But we do have a rule, 3-minute rule.
Yeah, but at the same time, Mayor Garanti, you didn't check them about this, about 3 minutes.
I'm just telling you, I'm giving you.
Last time I was here, you had the security that said remove them from the microphone.
You are over 5 minutes right now, Robert.
Well, I'm saying it was in total contradiction of the anti-discrimination ordinance. That's why I asked who's standing on the oath of office to support the ordinance of the City of Joliet to the best of their ability. I read this every day. I read the Constitution every day. Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday from 9 to 12, I'm at the Will County Courthouse Law Library, ritualistically. Also, in closing, I would like to say that in the spirit of the Kwanzaa principle, Kujichagulia, self-determination, the Joliet-Will County area community is invited and is welcome to participate along with the people of African origin, African national ancestries, annual observance of Voices from Among the People open public forum commemorating the 150th year anniversary of the passage of the 13th Amendment of the Constitution for the United States of America. The event, hosted at Mount Moriah Baptist Church located at 1503 Arthur Avenue in the city of Joliet on Saturday, January 31st, 2015, will begin at 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. and will afford all concerned and interested community members with an opportunity to publicly express their spiritual, social, economic, cultural, political, and legal equality point of views to establish a consensus about a reasonable manner by which we should individually and collectively strive to achieve as our common way of life during the course of conducting our private, social, and public business affairs among each other. Admissions is free and is open to the general public.
Thank you.
I'd like to give you this.
Mayor, we did have a request from John Sheridan to,
Sure.
So moved.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, thank you for allowing me to speak. I had an opportunity to read a proposed city ordinance pertaining to established rules for public speaking. I was surfing on your website. One part begs to be addressed immediately. I would like to address Section 2-25C3, public participation be allowed subject to the following rules. One part really stuck out, folks. No questions shall be asked of the mayor, city council person, or a member of the city staff. In addition to a couple other paragraphs which seem to be very subjective and controlling, I'm appalled that the city would propose an ordinance that would cut off and silence public participation in our democratic process that you see working here tonight. I guess I should be lucky that the words mayor and city council have not been replaced with the king in his court, and the word public has not been replaced with the word peasants. In a recent article in the Herald News, a councilman was criticized by two local ministers about disrespect of certain office holder, never once mentioning reverse disrespect of fellow colleagues. I wonder how they would feel about the disrespect this proposed ordinance brings to the taxpayers, citizens, and voters of Joliet, Illinois. What are you afraid of with transparency in government? Government should be three things. One, it should be transparent. Transparency promotes accountability and provides information for citizens about their government and what they're doing. Second, government should be participatory. Public engagement enhances government's effectiveness and improves the quality of decisions. I think we've seen that with your statement tonight about opening up the doors and channels for review of the board of directors for the Rialto from public input. Three, it should be collaborative. Collaboration actively engages Americans in the work of their government. Let me remind you, all of you took the oath to faithfully discharge the duties of your office. And the most important duty is listening to the constituents, the voters who elected you, the people whose seats you're representing. As District 4 Councilwoman said, she is in the people's seat, and I totally agree with her. And as you are fully aware, 6 of you are up for election on April 7th. When the mayor, city council persons, chairpersons of committees, city managers, city attorneys do not answer your emails, texts, or phone calls, what are we supposed to do? You should be able to come to the city council meeting and personally address the questions to the mayor. After all, as I said, the buck stops at your desk. And by the way, our buddy President Harry Truman had another good old saying for his term in office. In 1949, President Truman said when warning his staff not to concern themselves for over-criticism about the appointments he made, "I stand by you, but if you cannot take the heat, get out of the kitchen." And to that I add, with all due respect, folks, if any of you do not like the fact that the voters of Joliet want our city government to be transparent, participatory, and collaborative, then maybe it's time you pick up your toys and go home. Thank you.
Jim, Marty, be sure to address that tomorrow at his concerns at the meeting, the committee meeting. Jim, you want to comment at all? Or you
No,
gonna
it
save for
should
tomorrow?
be thoroughly reviewed. The issue's not before council yet. It's at committee tomorrow afternoon.
All right, thank you.
I would like to comment. Sure. Thank you. Mr. Sheridan, I can assure you I was not consulted on that proposal. Not only was I not consulted, I did not devise that particular part of the proposal, and I will not support it. I have been nothing but about transparency since I ran, and I will continue to be about transparency. And now is a good time for me to tell everybody in here and everybody who might watch on TV, if I had a nickel for every time, if it happens once, it happens 25 times a day, when I call somebody back, when they call me and get a hold of me and they say, Councilman, I'm sorry, I hope I'm not bothering you. That's the sad state of affairs in our politics, maybe throughout this country right now, that somebody would think to tell me, am I bothering you? And I so badly want to tell them, no, I hope I'm not bothering you. But it's never a bother. I will always, always be reachable, be accessible, and be about transparency. And thank you for stepping up once again, Mr. Sheridan. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, I want to make a comment,
Wait a minute,
please.
I just recognized.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see it.
Councilman.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Sheridan, I share the same sentiments as you. I had nothing to do with this. I'm not sure who did, who actually thought it was a good idea to make it illegal for you, a citizen, to ask this council a question. So I guess, Marty, you're new on the job. I'm sure this wasn't your idea.
No, it'll be talked about. It was just a proposal.
Okay,
That's
well,
all.
well,
I've got it in print. I've got it in print.
Yeah.
I was told that I was wrong tonight, that it wasn't out there, but I've got it in print. What I read is in print.
I guess the problem that I have with the proposal, and it hasn't been vetted yet or gone through committee, but it impugns the entire council as if we are standing behind this. So I just want to assure the public, I certainly am not, and I don't think any of my colleagues are, that I know
I
of.
certainly did not, and I don't know where it came from.
Councilman.
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say, you're up here, and with all due respect, I had no idea what you were talking about. And if anybody knows me, they know I always answer my constituents and return phone calls. So I'm trying to figure out what proposal you're talking about, because obviously from the city manager, he said it has not been presented to the whole council as yet. So I had no idea what you were talking about. I just figured you were giving us a tongue lashing, so.
Excuse me for that, but go
That's all
ahead.
right, John, I'm sorry, I was out of place there. Okay.
If you go to the city website, legislative committee meeting agenda for tomorrow, it's there. It's put out there a couple of days in advance. You're not on the committee, so I probably wouldn't expect you to nose around every committee we have and to read all their agendas. I'm personally interested in that. He's chairman, she's on the committee. And my condolences to Mr. McFarland and his family, by the way, for the loss of his grandmother today, too. But he's on the committee also, and we've been beating this thing to death since June.
No, I know we've been talking about it, but I didn't know that there was a proposal out there already to go before committee for
We
tomorrow.
went backwards 10 steps of what's sitting out there today.
I'll have to look
10
it up
steps
then.
backwards since our November meeting, at least.
Thanks, John. Eddie?
It is all news to me, Mayor. I was the one that told Mr. Sheridan I didn't think it was out there because nobody presented it to me. I do sit on the committee, and I knew that we were going to thoroughly vet it tomorrow. We have bounced around the issue, and I do not agree that a person, a resident, cannot come to this microphone and voice what they feel. And so I will not condone anything like that. Certainly, thank you for that. Because you are the people that we represent here, and you must have a voice.
Just from me, I have not had the opportunity to hear how this proposal came to be from either the city manager or the city attorney. But they will be presenting this tomorrow afternoon, 3:15 or something, 3 o'clock at the committee meeting for input.
Mr. Mayor? Yeah, well,
I don't know if, I've been kind of going over it since I received the agenda, and I don't think it states, Marty, that you can't ask us a question. It said you couldn't ask us directly to point out a certain council person, like to get in an argument or a debate. That's the way I interpret it. I haven't read it over again thoroughly, but it wasn't saying that you couldn't come to this podium and ask us a question individually. You can ask a question to the council. I think, is that right, Marty or Jim?
Yes.
He's gonna.
You're partially correct, Mr. Chairman. The one comment above that says, all comments should be addressed to the council as a whole and not to any member thereof, because he's the chairman, and as people try to speak tonight, he tries to keep control of the council. So if I walk up and I start going, oh, Councilman Quillman, I'd like to ask you, he'll say, Mr. Sheridan, I'm running the council here, and let me address the question to her and get her back. You have to have some type of control. The next paragraph, no questions shall be asked of the mayor, city council person, or any member of the city staff, period.
Individual, I mean, I guess it's the interpretation. And to go back to, okay, we're going to talk
It's
about it
black
tomorrow.
and white.
We're going to talk about it tomorrow.
Black and
the
white.
other thing was the reason and I know we disagreed on what was said at the council meeting. Maybe it was a disagreement in understanding what I said, that I wanted staff to put something together as they did and bring it to the full council and let us talk about it, and then come back to the legislative committee and be voted on. That's what I interpret, or what I tried to interpret in that council meeting when you said I didn't say that it was coming back to legislative committee. I know it's coming back to legislative committee, but I wanted personally, and Betty and Jim agreed, and well, Jim, I'm not going to speak for Jim or Betty. I shouldn't say that. What I thought they agreed that it would come to council after legal went over it, and what you did, what Jeff, it came up with, and bring it to the full council. But now it's coming back to us first before it come to council, and that's fine. Tomorrow we would go back and forth for 3, 4, 5 hours, however long we need to stay there. I'm fine, and then it'll come to council for approval or denial.
Mr. Chairman of the Legislative Committee, we had discussion on December 9th. I left this meeting, went home, and I did my homework. I sent you an email with all the factual information, and you were one particular person that did not respond.
Right,
Okay?
and
All right.
you know what? I'm not going to respond because I didn't like the other email you sent either. But we'll deal with that later. But what I intend was for the full council to vet whatever legal brought to us, and then come back to the legislative committee to be approved, to come back for council for a vote.
I wrote contract language for Caterpillar, IAM machinist contracts. I'm quite aware of and, but, or, for, nors, and I'm telling you that's plain English. I interpret it correctly. There's no intent, there's no interpretation.
Mr.
black and
Sheridan,
white.
that will be addressed tomorrow at the meeting by our attorney, the reason for it's in there, and then his explanation. Thank you. Thank you.
Question.
Sure.
I would like to know at some point, one of the vetted, who put it in there.
I did.
Marty, if it was you that said, I think this is a good idea, I'm not talking to anybody on the council. Okay, I want to know whose idea it was put in there. It disturbs me. I don't like putting rules on. Look, there's not one of us up here that objects if one of these folks come up here and say, Councilman Morris, Councilman Hug, Mayor Girani, whoever, you did a wonderful job. Boy, we let them talk to us direct. But when they have a complaint, we want to put a rule in that they can't talk to us direct? That's obscene.
That's going to be all talked about. That's going to be all talked about at the meeting. Councilman?
Just one comment. I think that is written whether, I'm not on that committee. I didn't read the entire draft through, but I interpret it as a draft, and there's a lot of changes to a draft. And once a proposal is set, I think we need to dig through it and look at it. But as long as I've been here, I haven't seen one person approach this podium where the mayor and council didn't acknowledge them, whether they're on the agenda or not on the agenda, to speak. We've always let people speak. And I challenge anyone to, like I said, John, I didn't read it yet, but I suspect it's a draft and it can be taken out of the draft, whatever comes at Terry's committee tomorrow. But this council has never turned down anybody to speak, as long as I've been here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure, name and address, or,
Motion
don't
to
have
allow.
to. Is there a motion?
Motion to allow.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Sorry, okay. Candace Johnson, St. John's Neighborhood Organization, District 4. I have a couple questions. Regarding the recent increase in crime, can we do something of a buyback situation with guns or weapons of any nature? Maybe incorporate Will County. We need to get guns off the streets. Guns are one of the major issues that we are having right now. Could we consider a buyback system where people, without question, come in, drop off guns, and we give them money? We need them off the streets. We have to stop the killings. Somebody has to start somewhere. It's
Chief,
something.
I'm sorry, Chief, you want to address that?
Yes, Mayor. The Joliet Police Department has been a participant in several gun buyback programs throughout the years. We know across the nation gun buybacks are a feel-good because when we put it out there, you could turn in a handgun, no questions asked, then it looks like we're taking guns off the street. Unfortunately, there is also some question as to whether or not those guns that are being turned in are actually guns that are accessible to criminals or whether they're guns that have been handed down from generation to generation. I think that if we were able to get the crime guns off the street, then the program could have some merit, but there is also going to be issues of funding to maintain these programs. If we'd like to initiate a program like this, if it's the council's desire, I know that Councilman Morris has reached out to me a couple months ago about this initiative. We would be more than willing to participate from the police department standpoint, but as far as the true effectiveness of the program, I know there is some discussion of the validity of a program like that.
Okay, also, for all of the businesses that are going out west, and I'm going to say far west because I live on the near west side, and to me, downtown is local. Pretty much up to Larkin Avenue is kind of local. Were any of the businesses, the DSW, I believe Dick's Sporting Goods is going out west, was any of the company asked if they would like to locate downtown? Were they given incentives to go downtown? We have so many properties that are sitting, that are deteriorating. But did anybody say, hey, listen, I know you want to go far out west, but can you consider this? We will give you tax incentives. I know we have the TIF thingy. I don't remember what it's called. I'm sorry. I'm not like
TIF, yeah.
ready.
Sure.
But people keep saying we need to revitalize downtown, we need to do this, we need to do that. We can preserve history, ask them to go into a building that's already sitting there empty, as well as promote shopping and eateries. We have fantastic restaurants. If we don't get more businesses down there and residents down there, we're not going to have any restaurants left down there.
Thank you. Jim Haller, you want to address that? He's our economic developer.
Sorry about that. I was getting low battery on that one. Yeah, we do that. Unfortunately, most of the restaurateurs that we've dealt with and some of the larger retail customers are very specific on where they want to go. We try real hard to get them in the downtown. We always tell them we've got a deal that you can't pass up. As you should know, we do push the downtown as our first priority. Sometimes, like when we were dealing with the developer that brought in that's bringing in the Chipotle and that did the other sandwich shop over there, we try to get them, all right, you're doing that one on West Jefferson Street. Can you come downtown? Can you look at some of the buildings that we have? And as a matter of fact, we are in the process of getting him down there. He's going to set an appointment, come and tour our downtown to look for those things. Without question, the downtown has more incentives in place than anywhere else. And so, yes, we do make everybody apprised of those incentives. We do try to get them down there, and that is one of the biggest things that we do. And there are a couple of things in the works right now, new venues that are going to come into the downtown that I'm not really at liberty to speak of at this point in time, but the horizon looks brighter for the downtown.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Mayor and Council.
Comments? Betty?
First, I'd like to sort of
For the viewing audience out there, I know that we have talked about violence in our cities. We talked about economic development, all of that. Chief Ben, with the JPD, I agree with the sentiments from council that your department is doing a great job. We need to know, how can we as residents begin to help quash this violence? We all have an accountability piece in this. And for this city to move forward, we all have to work together. Now, I know that there are instances out there that people know a lot more than what they're saying. My appeal is to the residents of this city. If we're to move this city forward, if we're to have safe passage in this city, then I'm calling on the residents. I'm calling the residents and everybody to call. This call to action is for everybody. We need to assist our police department. And for those of us who are setting out there, setting on information to remove some of this violence off of our street, I want you to call in. There are several ways that you, as a citizen, can report something and with anonymity. We need to help. All of us need to help each other. So that is my call to action for this city. To make it better, let's all be accountable and let's all get to work in doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, just a couple things. I know we're been discussing our police department quite a bit here this evening, and certainly want to recognize the good works that they do. And I actually attended a promotional ceremony this afternoon, and it was actually the first one that I've ever been to, and it was really fantastic. And what it was, I want to mention actually the officers here that were actually promoted today. We have Captain Bruce Larson was promoted to captain. Jeremy Harrison was promoted to lieutenant. Sherry Blackburn to sergeant, Marcus Mitchell to sergeant, and Lisa Santano was also promoted to sergeant. And I just wanted to mention that because two things that really came through when I was at this promotional ceremony. And the first was obviously how humbled and appreciative they were to be recognized and to be, for the good works that they do for the Joliet Police Department and receiving their promotion. The second thing that really came through was the passion that they have for serving the residents of the city of Joliet. And it just came through. Each and every one of those candidates that were promoted mentioned time and time again, since they were young people, young ladies and young men, how they wanted to serve and how important it was and how passionate they were to serve us, the residents of the city of Joliet. And I just wanted to mention that, they have a difficult job, but I'll tell you, their passion and their commitment is still there to the residents of the city of Joliet. And on that same note, I want to mention one of our officers who's retiring. Many of you may know Officer Mike Riley. We know him as 240, I think. That's his badge number. But he's had a distinguished career of 26 years as a police officer, and he's going to be retiring at the end of January. Another one of our good officers that has devoted his entire career, 26 years, to serving the residents of the city of Joliet, and never looked for any thanks, never looked for anything other than the ability and the satisfaction of serving the residents of Joliet. And I just wanted to mention Mike. He and his wife Sue are friends of mine and my wife's, and he's certainly going to be missed down at the city of Joliet. So if you know Mike, if you know Mike's number, I'm not going to give it out here on the on television. But if you know Mike and you see him, which you probably do because he's very visible in our community, walk up and thank him for the service that he's given the city of Joliet. So, Mayor, thank you. Those are my comments.
Well said, Councilman.
Motion, yeah.
Motion to allow?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, sir.
My name Richard Dean, Stan Crest Hill.
I've come to this city council meeting numerous of times. You know, I listen to you all. I wonder, I just heard this lady over here say she want to call out for stop the violence. I wonder myself, do anybody in this room really want to stop the violence? You know, because I can sit up here and I can name cases off the top of my head that has been filed against me, myself, unlawful, injustice cases, which I have wrote to you, Mayor, city council board members. Nobody have done nothing, anything about it. If you want to write a couple of these cases now, you feel free. I will call a couple of them out for you. 11 CF 2101, 12 MR 222, 1229 53, 313 0051, 1178 75. These are cases that have been brought against me. And when is the police going to take responsibility for the action they are doing, for the unlawful injustice cases they are bringing? That this is where some of the violence can start. If you bring an unlawful injustice case against an individual, well, indeed, in time, that keep an individual from getting a job to support his family and kids, no way to get money. What do you think he's going to do? Violence, rob, do whatever to try to feed his family. So I think, for one, it starts at the justice system and to better train the police officers. Did y'all write any of those cases down?
Sir, any letter I get from you or anybody else concerning a case like that, I forward to the chief and ask him to look into it, and he usually reports back to me. For me to get a letter, I don't know if it's true or what, so I usually forward it to Chief Benton, and then he gets back.
All right, the first case I called was 11 CF, which y'all who do not know is 11 CF is a 2011 class felony case, 2011, which I'm still fighting today. 2012 case, civil case,
These all against
MR,
you?
all against me, unlawful, injustice. I wrote the Supreme Court, 3rd District Appellate Court, wrote you all. Nobody's willing to overturn these cases based on the individuals who are involved in these cases, not in the matter of fact of the justice or the righteousness. It's just because of the name or their prosperity. Maybe they have a place in life and I don't.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman?
All right.
Oh, one more. Let me write this gentleman down right here. He's fairly new. I had to run in with this gentleman too, Mr. Martin, a couple months ago at Rockdale for this automatic traffic light.
Was he in a bar down there, or when you were?
No, he was acting as a peace officer, but he really was an attorney.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, let me get his name real quick. Pretty new.
Okay.
All right, can we move it along?
Yes, move it
Thank you,
along.
Mayor.
Yes.
First of all, Mr. Sheridan, I'll tie up to it. Muzzling citizens will never be on my agenda. And I think maybe, even though some folks up here had said it probably won't go forward now, it can be removed from the proposal. I understand what you and a lot of the people out here and the people that contacted me today are saying. Doesn't have to be successful to be bad. That's why while we have larceny, we have attempted larceny. While we have murder, we have attempted murder. And my point on attempted is, I too want to know who attempted to put this muzzle on the people. So understand that's where I stand. With that said, my other comments will be on a more dour note. My condolences to Councilman McFarland and his entire family on the loss of a matriarch in their family, his grandmother. My heart goes out to him and his family, and I extend my condolences. And as well, the young man, Muhammad Eid, who was shot and killed yesterday, known to his friends as Cookie, good, solid young man, not involved with gangs, working at his father's store, protecting the family. As a father, as a dad, my condolences to Mr. and Mrs. Eid on the loss of their son, on the loss of his future, and my condolences officially as a councilman to the entire Eid family and extended family for the loss of this nice young man. And my thank you, and I'll tell you something, Chief, one of the family members that I know said to thank the chief for what you guys are doing. They understand that you're working it hard, that you're going after that second suspect because the other one did die. So I'm extending their thank you to you and extending my condolences to the entire Eid family, to Cookie's family. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I'd just like to offer condolence to Councilman McFarland and his family in the loss of his grandmother. That's all I have, man.
Thank you. I agree with that sentiment. Also, I would like to thank and congratulate R. Dale Evans for the event that he put on yesterday. He's doing it annually. It's the Martin Luther King, a day on, not a day off. Mayor, you were there with me. There were hundreds of volunteers from the Joliet area, including well over 100 volunteers from Joliet West and Joliet East High School. They came out and did a day of service, community service all over the city. Mr. Evans should be commended, as well as everybody who gave up a morning and a day off to come out and work. And then specifically, I'd like to thank the people who came out with me to the Abraham Lincoln Cemetery. This year it wasn't cold, as it was in years past, but great work by everybody, and a real thanks to R. Dale Evans. He does a terrific job.
Councilwoman?
Well, I didn't have a day off yesterday. I was a bit busy taking care of the sick people at Silver Cross Hospital, so my day on was on. But I would just like an update from Chief. I know there was a hearing about those vicious dogs over in the Reed Street neighborhood, or not Reed Street, but over on Reed Street. And I know it's going to be continued, but I want to ask you also, is there anything else that we can do to tighten our ordinance against vicious dogs? Help you out.
I'd probably defer to city legal on how we could tighten up the ordinance. I do think the ordinance right now is pretty clear in the fact that you have to have your dog on a leash at all times when it's out. I think you have to have an enclosed area if you're going to allow your dog out into your yard. And in this situation here, I know that Officer Clement's been very involved in helping us get at least some solace for the family, but I think the dog that was in question has been removed from that residence, and we're looking at repercussions for the other two that were left there. I would have to, like I said, confer with the city attorney if there's ways that we could strengthen our ordinance, but in this particular offense, I think it was a homeowner that failed to control the dogs. I don't think that the ordinance would have had any effect if changed.
Was there anything you can do with homeowners that have vicious animals that don't control them and let them run loose and attack not only people but other dogs as well?
Well, thank you. I like the way the ordinance is actually fine. It's citizen complaints. So if the citizens have to complain.
They did it. They had a regular campaign. They were good, but not everybody can do that or will do that.
And if citizens complain, then there's a record.
So they have to call.
And they're easier to track.
Okay, so just want to put it out there. If you see a vicious dog or anybody, has more dogs than they should have, especially, any dog can be vicious. So I'm not going to, rule out or single out any certain breed, but please call so that there is a record. You call city, you call animal control, and is there anybody else, Chief, to do the record? Is that it?
No, that would be it.
That'd be it. Just call the police and Joliet Animal Control so that there is a record and we get a handle on that and remove the animals from hurting people and other dogs, or children even as well. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Michael?
Your Honor, I just want to say, prior to the meeting, Councilwoman Quillman gave me some stress relief hand sanitizer. It smells pretty good. And I think the vapors might have went to this little guy in the front row because he looks awful. But anyway, I just want to say a couple of weeks ago I had an opportunity to attend and you were there yourself, Mayor, the CAPA annual meeting over at the Jacob Henry facility, and it was well attended, a real nice evening, and congratulate the organization for what they've done and what they're working with the city. So that's it.
Thank you. Just a couple things. I also want to congratulate the officers that were promoted. Unfortunately, I got the notice at 1:30, and it was at 2 o'clock, so I had a commitment, I couldn't go. And as far as Mike Riley goes, he's going to be a loss. I would see Mike Riley riding around on his bike on his day off, checking on things, so. And lastly, I just want to reiterate, starting tomorrow through the 28th, anybody interested being on the Rialto board, bring a resume down to my office, and I will conduct interviews. Thank you, that's all I have. We need an executive session.
A motion to go into closed session to
So
discuss
moved.
personnel, collective bargaining, land
Second.
acquisition, or conveyance pending or threat litigation. Motion seconded. Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hugg.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Odekirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Mayor Drago.
Aye?
Motion carried.
Fumes.
Put that